We're back with race number 4, the 2-year-old filly pace division. About 10 minutes to post time for this race, and currently as we check the odds board, no clear favorite at 5-2, which is a $7 mutual return, Cabana Fever. She was the morning line favorite, or second favorite in the race, behind Little Miss Dragon, who at this point is the co-second favorite, as Southwind Rio also getting support. 2 from the elimination winners here, Cabana Fever, the Little Miss Dragon, Bob, getting most of the support. You'd have to think that one of these two should get it. What a great comparison here between drivers, though. Ron Pierce, the veteran, the guy that's on the roll, the guy that between he and Brian Sears have split all the older events this year and now have kicked off the card in grand style. He'll drive the horse that is currently second favorite, whereas the youngest driver ever to win a Breeders' Crown, Ryan Anderson, aboard the one that is 5-2.
20-something and 50-something too. And if Cabana Fever wins, that means back-to-back Breeders' Crown winners for Lee and Linda DeVisser. This is the second time they're going to have 2 crown winners in the same day. Back in '96, Jenna's Beach Boy and She's a Great Lady did it in the same day. That's a real Breeders' Crown bonanza for those two right there. Let's see if they can do it with Cabana Fever. She looks like the horse to beat to me.
We've talked, throughout the night various times about the fact that sometimes with this heavy wind, it does in fact favor horses that come out of the pocket or off cover. If you're first up around the last turn, or you're on the lead and under pressure onto the last turn, when you get that 30, 40 kilometer an hour wind in your face, they sometimes begin to tire late in the mile, and that does set it up for horses that come from just off the pace. You'd have to think that fits the bill for a Cabana Fever. We'll start off our post parade here at 13-1, the first horse out, with Jody Jamieson aboard. This is Trim Hanover.
There are 39 pacers in. This is the only son or daughter of Cam Luck. He's got 3 Breeders' Crown credits. All came with the ladies. Molly Can Do is one of them.
2 horses in the field currently at 5-2, and your favorite, we'll see if that price holds up, Ryan Anderson on Cabana Fever.
And trying to become the 4th driver to win twice in his 20s, and this is the only first crop sire in the field, Real Desire.
We're going to get to the number 3 in a moment. Little Miss Dragon, second favorite, delayed. There's a 4-1 shot in Southwind Rio. Had the lead for the entire way last week in the elimination and wound up 3rd, but was placed up to 2nd. Back to Little Miss Dragon, Bob. She is 3-1 with Pierce.
$67,000 yearling. Last year, My Little Dragon won. Same exact sire, a trainer, and driver here, Pierce and Noel Daly. Little Miss Dragon looks a little deja vu.
And the orange and black colors of Andy Miller. Perhaps a Halloween theme to be found here tonight. A big price. Speed Date could be a scary winner. The 6th horse in the field, Calgary Hanover with Mike LaChance. He has drives in 7 of the 8 events tonight.
And Don Swick won this race back in 2001 with Cam Swifty.
And let's get to the long shots, cover them off from the outside of the field. Native Hanover with David Miller driving, the number 7. 8 in the field, Jane's Character. This one has Brian Sears aboard for trainer Mickey Burke. Number 9 in the field, a local horse, Hannah Hanover. She is Ontario owned. She had a perfect 4-for-4 season coming into her elimination, where she wound up 3rd as a beaten favorite. Paul McDonnell, her regular pilot, on board again. And to complete the field at 15-1, Western Montana. Tough outside post for this Kelly O'Donnell pupil with Dave Pallone. We'll send it back to Greg Blanchard for more on the 2-year-old filly pacers.
Thank you, Mike. And yes, indeed, we have a defending champion back, Little Miss Dragon. We'll see if she can make it 2 in a row in the 2-year-old filly pace final. And welcome back to Woodbine Racetrack, getting ready for race number 4. It's our 3rd Breeders' Crown Championship tonight, the 2-year-old filly pacers, and Ron Pierce aboard My Little Dragon, or Little Miss Dragon, I should say, as she looks for back-to-back Breeders' Crown Championships. And Pierce already with a win with Donato Hanover, looking for his 2nd consecutive tonight. He did go down to defeat, however, with Passionate Glide. It's not the first time. She was beaten in the 2nd heat of this year's Kentucky Filly Futurity at Lexington's Red Mile, but in the final, she was able to turn the tables, and it wasn't without some controversy. Ron Pierce involved in an incident known simply as the Wave. We caught up with Ron earlier this week and got his thoughts on what transpired.
Passionate Glide trying to slingshot by, and these two are slugging it out toe-to-toe. It's Passionate Glide. Pierce waves bye-bye.
I just seen I had the race win. My filly was good and strong, and it was just something that came to me. I wasn't trying to be a show off or anything. I just or be a comedian. I just decided to have some fun. So I gave the throng a wave. No offense intended. and everybody loved it, except for the judges. They didn't like it one bit.
Are slugging it out toe to toe. It's Passionate Glide. Pierce waves bye-bye.
But the judges did not think it was funny at all because it could create a safety issue where if a driver puts his hands in or lines in one hand, and that horse that he's driving takes a bad step, he might not be able to catch it, and that horse, fall down or something like that, you get run over. So I wouldn't advise anybody doing it because of the safety factor involved, and I will not do it again.
Wise words from Ron Pierce. Always good to have control of your horse on the track. For race number 4 of the 2-year-old filly pace division, here's how we see it. Ken, Renee, and Bob think Cabana Fever, the number 2, can come through. Currently the 9-5 slight favorite in the race. I'm going to the 3 Little Miss Dragon. Greg Blanchard likes Southwind Rio, a horse that would be a mild upset, currently at 9-2. One horse in the race, the co-favorite in here, trained by or owned by Adam Victor and Son, is Little Miss Dragon. Another one from the same connections, Native Hanover. Here's Renee standing by with that one's trainer, Noel Daly.
Noel sending out the daughter of Dragon again, Little Miss Dragon with Ron Pierce in the bike. This is one of the horses, Noel, that needed a driver replacement with John Campbell going down last week, so you went to Ron Pierce.
Yeah, John's driven her every start, but Ronnie was driving my other filly. I think this filly's a little sharper than the other filly, a little tougher than the other filly, so he had the choice of the drives and he selected this one.
One of your fellow trainers from down under, Brett Pelling, retiring last year. Have you had a chance to catch up with him much this season?
No, I've talked to his father here. He said he's bored. But I don't think he's allowed to come back. But he's.
It seemed like a good idea at the time, but now retirement may be a little bit too much time on his hands.
Yeah, I think he hasn't got quite enough to do down there. Yeah.
Now we just saw with My Little Dragon winning last year. That one shows up later on tonight. What about the chances of that one?
She's really hitting the game there. She's never been worse than second, but she's had a bit of a quiet year, had problems keeping weight on her and keeping her sound. She's really sharp right now. I think she'll be very good there tonight.
Okay, well, we're going to wish you luck, and thanks for coming out and speaking with us.
Thank you.
So there you have it, Ron. Another horse that had to make a driver adjustment here with Ron Pierce picking up the drive.
I think Ron will fill in very well, especially if he doesn't wave to anybody through the stretch, I think he'll fill in very well here.
Keep both hands on the lines. That's the key to it. And right now, guys, Little Miss Dragon is second choice at 2-1. Cabana Fever is the favorite at 9-5.
Well, can tell you that one of those daily horses here, Native Hanover, is a huge long shot at 35-1, but certainly the one that most of the folks will be watching here from that stable, Little Miss Dragon, getting 2-1 support right now. Bob, the next door neighbor, though, is the very so slight favorite, Cabana Fever, and one that you're picking here, she's 9-5.
I asked Ron Pierce earlier today, how are you going to beat Cabana Fever? He said, very good question. So he knows that she's real serious because Ryan Anderson doesn't have to have any set trip. She's got such an outstanding final 3/8 of a mile that she doesn't have to be in so, quote, position to win. And Cabana Fever, she's got 2 losses, and they both came on the lead. So look for her to stay a little bit off the action here and just make a big late roll there as DeVicious look for 2 in a row. And Joe Seekman looks for his first Breeders' Crown. Remember, he was the man who brought Kiki Katie in with 14 in a row, who had her only loss as a 2-year-old back in 2003, but she was still divisional champ.
She went off at 1-9, one of those horses that have gone down to defeat as such a heavy favorite. We'll bring in another member of the crew here, Greg Blanchard, for Southwind Rio. Greg is a horse that you've in fact picked in the race. May have been a little bit short last week. She had not raced since back in the Champlain.
You hit the nail right on the head, Mike, and that's why I go back to her tonight. She did the road work, and she held up pretty well despite missing the time. I think she would have taken a lot from that race, and I expect a better effort from her tonight. And you talk about Breeders' Crown connections here. The sire Arts Place won the 92-year-old colt pace at Pompano Park, and then he came back in 92 as an aged performer and won the Breeders' Crown that year. McDonald and trainer Nat Vardy both looking for their first Breeders' Crown titles. I think they've got a great opportunity to get it done here. Once again, we're getting ready to head back upstairs. The starting gate, it looked like it was starting to roll for this 2-year-old filly pace final, but it appears, guys, they've taken another turn and are going to reassemble. Let's send it back over to Renee and Ron for a moment. And Ronnie, I just wanted maybe to get the perspective of a driver when something this happens. Well, apparently Ronnie isn't standing by at this point, but we'll catch up with him after. Mike, And Bob, I'm sure this is the time where maybe the driver's nerves start to come unraveled a little bit when they have a recall like this, and perhaps some of the horses too, especially when you're talking 2-year-olds.
Well, certainly if you wanted to jump to conclusions, you could say a young guy like Ryan Anderson, who doesn't have all that much experience in the big races, he's raced primarily in Chicago, you may say he'd be the guy that could be rattled by it, but I don't think that's the case. He is already a Breeders' Crown winner, Bob. He was the youngest ever to do it with Popcorn Penny, and he has driven 350 winners this year.
Yeah, and that was a perfect drive the night he won with Popcorn Penny. It was a neck victory there, too. And quietly, look who's in this race, training number 5, Ray Remen, looking for his first Breeders' Crown since Beach Towels showed up the Horse of the Year back in 1990. Don Swick has already won this division. And the Ponderosa, after all, it's a Breeders' Crown. The Ponderosa is a sire of number 7, Native Hanover. He's the only repeat sire in this division in the last 13 years. He won it back-to-back with his first 2 crops.
Well, hopefully we could page the outrider to give Ryan some assistance there with Cabana Fever. The outrider watching on as Ryan's off and apparently having some difficulty. We'll bring in Ron Waples here. What do you think Ryan is doing with a rather fractious Cabana Fever?
Well, I think the filly's just a little overexcited there, getting ready to go to the gate and race. And sometimes these fillies, they get a little erratic. And he just took his time getting her turned around, done a great job there, and should be quieted down by now.
All right, well, it does indeed look like the horses are now moving up towards the gate, and for that, we'll send it back to Ken Middleton. Again, for your perspective here, Ken, anything you've seen prior to the race?
Well, I've seen the Cabana Fever's got a little bit of Terrell Owens in her. She's got lots of talent. She's a great athlete, but she does things at her own clip. When it's go time for her, it's go time for her. Pacing fillies are on the gate for this evening's 4th race. They are moving in and lining up for the Breeders' Crown Final. Field of 10 across the gate for a purse of $683,000 plus. They're off and pacing from the outside, the first to fire off the wings of the gate as they move off the wings of the gate. Quick early speed from Hannah Hanover. Just to her inside, leaving fast as well as Southwind Rio. Backed up at the rail 3rd there is Little Miss Dragon at the rail 4th. Races away Trim Hanover. Backed into 5th is Calgary Hanover. 6th away is Cabana Fever. Taken back to race along in 7th is Speed Date. The 8th one away is Western Montana. And the last 2 as they drill their way to the opening quarter are Native Hanover and Jane's Character. An opening quarter flashed up in 27 seconds flat. Put up front, it's Hannah Hanover. Sitting in the pocket spot for just a few strides there was Southwind Rio. Mark McDonald right lines her right back to the outside, and she is right now in a struggle to go past Hannah Hanover. McDonnell in a giving mood at the rail, as on the outside, Southwind Rio appears to be clearing off the front. Hannah Hanover's back in second. Pierce is not going to waste any time, and he's to the outside, gunning right now to the front, and he puts My Little Dragon up front. Little Miss Dragon make that through a 55 2.5. So into the far turn they go, and it's Little Miss Dragon up front by 3. Back in second now, it's Southwind Rio. Up on the outside to rally into third as the field travels to the far turn. It's Trim Hanover, and Pierce has got 4 lengths going into that far turn. On the lead, it's Little Miss Dragon. She's clear by 4. Off stride went Southwind Rio, and McDonald does take this filly to the safety lane. Everybody gets around her. Cabana Fever moving up second on the outside. 3/4 in 1:22 and 4/5. And that was a rock-solid third quarter, a third quarter that has taken the wind out of the sails of Little Miss Dragon. And up on the outside, here comes Cabana Fever. And it's Cabana Fever for Ryan Anderson. Ice is running through his veins. Anderson on the outside strikes the lead with Cabana Fever. Fighting back is Little Miss Dragon. And up on the outside with all kinds of late pace, Calgary Hanover. Calgary Hanover reaches up to steal the marbles right at the line. 153 and 2, another upset as the 2-year-old pacing filly division goes to Calgary Hanover. A cunning steer by driver Mike Lachance, 24 crown victories now as he came from out of the clouds to win with Calgary Hanover.
Another thrilling finish, Kenny, here as 2 great champion fillies battle through the stretch, but they are left vulnerable in the late charging Calgary Hanover and Mike Lachance. Johnny on the spot, and they're up in time to capture the 2-year-old filly pace final.
The 2-year-old filly pace, again looking like it was a 2-horse race, but Ron, long shot here with Calgary Hanover getting up to steal it.
Randy, what about that? Calgary Hanover, it's cold out west. Maybe she just likes the cold weather.
Yeah, because it is getting a little colder as the night goes on. Cabana Fever and Little Miss Dragon duking it out, Mike, but a long shot here with Mike Lachance getting a victory in the Breeders' Crown once again.
Well, I think you kind of summed it up there by saying with Mike Lachance. That seems to be Probably why she got the job done here. She was driven very, very astutely by Mr. Lachance. We'll pick them up top of the lane. He had to do some fancy stick handling to get out of that jam as they turn for home. That's him back in about 5th and absolutely buried right now. Trim Hanover and Jody's horse here towards the inside of him. Another on the outside, very roughly gated, if not then off stride. He does split out between horses, has a long way to come, about 6 lengths, Bob. But never say never. Top 2 look like they're off in a race by their own. It looks like a seesaw battle between Little Miss Dragon and Cabana Fever, but not to be. Lachance nails it.
And why does the 17th leading money-winning driver in the country have 7 straight crown drives and would have been 8 if Cactus Creek didn't miss Lasix? Because he's Mike Lachance. Experience, savvy, patience. He's been there before. It's his 24th crown. Only he and Campbell are over 10 million. Only he and John Campbell won 21 of 23 years in the crown. He's been there before. That's the key. That's why they want the older established guys in races like this than some of the younger guns with bigger numbers.
Sometimes you expect when there are 2 kind of prominent horses in there like Cabana Fever and Little Miss Dragon that they may actually be beating each other up, and that certainly looked like the case at the top of the lane, but a crafty driver like Lachance finding a way to beat them both in their own game. We'll send it back to the Happy Connections with Greg Blanchard.
And we've got both the winning driver and trainer, Mike Lachance and Don Swick, and we'll begin first of all with Mike. I had lost track of your filly turning for home. Where did you come from?
I was about 7 on the rail, and there's a couple filly that got tangled up together, and as soon as they give me some room there, she was flying at the end.
Getting pretty windy and gusty right now. Did that ultimately take its toll on the leaders? Did you think they might come back to you late?
Well, they raced pretty hard. The favorite was first up for a long shot there, so. And it's a weather like tonight. You use him too hard early, they have to come back at you at the end.
Your filly had been close in recent starts. Were you quietly confident coming in that she might win?
No, but I knew if she had a good trip, she was going to get some money. She'd been racing really good at Lexington every start, and I raced her last week. I was locked in the top of the stretch, and she finished real strong at the end. So I know she is always can come home good.
Congratulations, Mike. You've got some other live drives tonight. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. Thanks a million.
Mike Lachance, the winning driver, will bring in Don Swick here. And Don, this is not the first time you won this division back in 01 with Cam Swifty. How does this one compare?
This is great. We've got a new partner that Bill took in on some of the horses, Bob Marzoli from New Jersey. So this is his second horse. So it's what a way for him to start in the business. And Mike, you couldn't thank Mike Lachance enough. He's just a wizard. He helped me with Fast Photo 5 years ago, and this is a dreadfully lazy filly, and from the first day that he drove her, he made her race. She never really wanted to win a race. She liked finishing second. I thought last week, had she gotten a good clean trip through the rail, I thought she would win. And I've told my wife all week, I really believe with the right trip she can win. It was a pipe dream, but here we are.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you very much.
Winning conditioner Don Swick, and another upset, Calgary Hanover getting it done from off the pace in the 2-year-old filly pace final.